this week on Pivot with Purpose.
What made you really want to study these finances? Because you read a lot of books. Like, I'm sure there's a ton of finance books that you can probably say that you read.
My 20s were very financially chaotic. I was stuck in a lot of bad situations like that I couldn't escape because I didn't have money. I felt that I had done everything right. I was told to go to college, check that box, get a good degree, check that box, get an office job, did that too.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I was still trapped and living paycheck to paycheck. So what did I do wrong? I think I did everything right. And then that's when I realized, okay, so I'm making more money than my immigrant parents ever did,
Right.
but I was never taught how to manage it.
Hey friend, you're listening to Pivot with Purpose. This is my show where I pivoted from shit I'm 30, where I was dreading turning 30. I had a failed marriage, failed engagement after that, and I don't have a relationship with my immediate family. But through it all, I came out the other side with a thriving business, an unexpected radio morning show of my own, and a platform where I can reach millions of people and help them walk in their truth. I am now celebrating every step of my journey into continuously finding my purpose, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Sometimes this journey looks like shit, and it probably sounds even worse, but it's still our journey, and I'm learning right along with you to enjoy it. There's always a rainbow after the rain falls. Now, if you need advice in pivoting in any aspect of your life, relationships, career, spirituality, send your questions or story to askcarlawilmeras@gmail.com or shoot me a DM at Carla Wilmeras. Now, let's start the show. We're back for another episode of Pivot with Purpose. I'm back at home. This office is going to get done and we're going to use it. We're going to record. I'm back to like my 2018, 19, 2020 when I was doing a ton of virtual recordings. I mean, really, I couldn't afford a studio. It's what it really was. And there was no studio here. But I feel like as much as I teach about podcasting, I should show also everyone that you don't need to have this huge production to have great stories, to have great episodes. If I can do it, anybody else can do it. I can be virtual or I can be in a studio, but I can also make my house like a nice little nook. And I have today a guest, of course, that I just met. And I don't know if you've heard of them, but I do want to talk about something really quick, because how many times do we find ourselves looking at our bank accounts and trying to figure out, listen, how am I going to make ends meet? I got to pay these bills. Maybe you're not missing a meal. Like, cause sometimes you're like, okay, I can eat. I can even go out to Chili's every here and there. But you're like one cart breakdown away from everything falling apart. Yet we don't know how to increase our income or pay off those damn student loans that Sleepy Joe is not. Do y'all know somebody who he paid off their damn student loans for? Cause I don't know one. Not one. Do you know what you're supposed to do to get those student loans like paid off, or any other debt that you may have? Because I've read all the self-help books. I've read all the finance books. Hell, I remember diving into all of the Dave Ramsey when I was like 19, 20. And he did help me get like an emergency fund. I lowered my little debt back then, which was like, I don't know, maybe like $2,000. I thought I was dying with that debt. And I froze my debit cards and put them in ice, did all the things, right? And it worked. But then I started having kids. I got older. There was more debt. There were student loans now, which I'm not paying, but they're like 70-something thousand. They can kiss my ass. I don't have time for that. And I say it all the time. I'll pay them when I'm ready. But we really don't know how to understand money and finances for us living here. And teaching others about money, although I was an accountant for 6 years, is not my forte. I'm pretty good with money, but I can't necessarily teach someone. That's not where I am. I just know how to go to Target like I did yesterday and spend way too much money on like 3 things. But I do have a platform that I can help other people. Like today, I have Giovanna, also goes by Gigi. She's known as Gigi, the first gen mentor on TikTok. Girl, you got the TikTok girlies on a chokehold, okay? You know what to do over there. And she just also released her debut book in January last month, Cultura en Cash. I love those things, like when there's like CNC or whatever.
Thank you. Yes.
That's a word for that,
alliteration.
Thank you. Words. Sometimes words are hard. But Cultura en Cash, lessons from the first gen mentor for managing finances and cultural expectations. And that is a mouthful, but so are our finances. So welcome, Ms. Gigi. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Carla, for having me on. I'm so happy to be here.
Of course. We literally had like 2 minutes prior to talk to recording now. I did read, I went on your website, saw some of your interviews, some of your clips, and I'm like, oh, she one speaks well. She's a Latina like I am as well. And you talk about things that feel taboo to our culture or our generation. Because I remember last year, there was a big thing going around about quiet luxury. And I didn't really understand what quiet luxury was, but it was a new term that emphasizes on timeless and minimalist part of the French women's lifestyle. And we love, elegance and money and having Louis and Gucci and all this stuff. But who really got Gucci money? We all, y'all wearing Fucci. Stop lying. We don't have all that money. How do we have it? So there was a term coined online, and it was loud budgeting. So once loud budgeting was coined, and I want to go back to the guy what was his name? I have it here somewhere.
I have it too written down. Let me try to see if I can find it.
Lucas Battle.
Yeah.
Lucas Battle. He's a comedian and a writer. He coined loud budgeting. So I looked it up and I'm like, what does loud budgeting even mean? And is the concept that consumers take control of their finances by being vocal. And us Hispanics, Black and brown folks, we are loud. We're loud with everything that we do, but we're sometimes not loud with budgeting. So Gigi, I want you to explain to me what loud budgeting is, how you got into the whole loud budgeting situation, and how you are loud about it.
Yeah. So what's funny is I've been loud budgeting for years, but there wasn't a term for it. So I'm very thankful for Lucas Battle, right? I believe his name was.
Yes, Lucas Battle.
For naming this thing, because when you are able to name something, you become aware of it and you're able to kind of stick to it or learn more, ask questions about it. But yeah, I've been doing it for years. So what loud budgeting is instead of being ashamed or feeling embarrassed when being asked to spend money on something you don't particularly want to spend money on, you take your power back and you say, I'm not spending money on this because I'm actually saving money for that, or I don't value this enough to spend money on it because I'm preparing for a trip here, so you make your plans clear on how you do plan to use your money. So it's not about you being broke or you can't afford it. It's about, I choose not to spend my money in this way at this time.
And I have a plan.
I have a plan for my money. I have money goals.
I was loud budgeting myself. I remember right after my dad passed away in 2016, that 2017 February, I had a trip planned to Thailand. Thailand is one of the places that my bucket list. And needless to say, I didn't go. But I didn't go because I had a plan. I'm like, man, right now I need to sit back and really start building where I wanted to be today. I would have never in a million years thought that back in 2016 when I did my loud budgeting, I'd be where I am today. But I remember telling my friend, you know what, right now I just can't. I can't book it. I can't go. And they all went. She got engaged out there. They went to Singapore. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I was there. But at the same time, if I wasn't loud about what I was doing, I wouldn't have been able to get to where I am today. But it also starts with our family and what our family taught us about money. And I feel like although I come from upper middle class, my dad was a drug dealer. Then he turned into a businessman. He was a great businessman. And I learned how to make money, not necessarily manage it. I didn't know how to manage money. So aside from all of that, I do have some stuff from you because this was all coined and it was here, but I want to talk to you about what you do on a day-to-day basis and what you're teaching, because you do have a book, right? Cultura en Cash. So clearly you have mastered the way of managing the money and budgeting your money.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm financially free. Financially free is when you don't have to work. I still have to show up to work, but I love what I do for work now. I had the flexibility to quit my corporate job to do what I'm doing now, which is be a content creator, a speaker, and now an author.
So you didn't end up in a remember that lady who left? She wanted to be an influencer and a content creator, and she ended up in a what's it called? In a homeless place. No, homeless with her kids in a shelter. That's what I'm on. She was in a shelter.
Oh, no.
So a woman wasn't to be an influencer. She moved from I don't know where to Houston, ended up in a shelter. She was all over the news. And everyone's like, what were you doing? But I think everyone had a plan. Maybe she forgot about the plan part. But you worked corporate. What did you do in corporate?
I used to work in investment management. Specifically, my role was to be an investment performance measurement analyst. So basically, my job was to
That's a
generate reports. I know it's a mouthful, but all I did
yeah.
was work on Excel spreadsheets all day and generate reports that would demonstrate how our institutional clients' portfolio was doing for the quarter, for the week. And we work with large institutional clients, so like pension funds, 401k plans, foundations and endowments. So big money. And I was just a person putting out the reports, and then the advisors would make the recommendations to the client based on those reports.
Do you feel like you learned anything there? Because me doing accounting for 6 years corporate, and we had $2 billion companies and all these spreadsheets, and I'm, working on Excel. I can't see that helped me personally.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very different from managing your personal finances. I would say the only way that my job helped me in my personal finances, knowledge wise, was just being more comfortable with the investment lingo, because that's what I studied for and actually got a certificate for it. So I specialized in it. So yeah, that's can be a big barrier to people when they start investing. They're like, what is the what's the Dow Jones, the S&P 500? There's all these
No
terms.
clue.
Yeah, so I dealt with that in my 9 to 5. But other than that, yeah, like I didn't learn how to pay off debt at my job. I didn't learn how to execute a budget at my job. So
And if we take it back, were you born here in the US?
I was. So my family they're still there. It's a border town in Mexico. It's called Mexicali in Baja California.
Mhm.
Um, and so basically think of Tijuana. So Tijuana and San Diego are borders to
Mhm.
each other. If you go two
Okay.
hours east, there's Mexicali and Calexico. So my
Okay.
family's from Mexicali. They had heard about this loophole where if you have your baby in the States, your baby has
Mhm.
American citizenship thanks to the 14th Amendment. So they did that with me and my brother. So basically, we were
Wow.
born in the States. And then as soon as my mom got out the hospital, they took us back to Mexico. And we grew up in Mexico for like the first 5 years of our life. And then we went back and forth between Mexico, and actually did preschool and second grade in Mexico. And the rest of my schooling was in America, in the
Okay. In
US,
Texas. In Texas?
in California, in
In
California.
California.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now what did you learn? What do you remember learning from your family? And then now that we've changed it and you're trying to change that mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, what I saw growing up at home was, there were no money discussions whatsoever. And I know that because other more privileged people, they do have basic discussions about, hey, I'm going to give you an allowance. This is how you should manage it. You should save some of
Mhm.
it. Some of it should be to buy yourself something nice, but you shouldn't spend it all, right? So some people had that privilege of having those money discussions at home. Me growing up in an immigrant household, we never had money discussions. The only
Right.
money discussions were there isn't enough money, so stop asking us for it. So that meant that if we
Mm.
went to the grocery store and we wanted like a little candy bar, the answer was always no. For if the Scholastic school fair came into town, and hey, can I have some money to buy some gel pens because they were all the rage? Remember back in the day, the gel pens.
Gel pens were the shit, okay? And you had to have every color. And remember the notebook that the papers were black
Yeah,
because they would
yeah,
show. Yeah. So by the way,
yeah.
we're pretty close in age. I am a little bit older, but listen, us millennials know what those gel pens were.
Yeah, yeah. And again, the answer is always no. So you see
Oh
like
fuck.
your friends buying books and getting stickers and all this stuff. And we always had we could still go and like window shop, but yeah, so the answer was always no. And then what I also saw growing up at home was that there were always some sort of like financial fires going on, right? That my family had to put out, my parents. And they didn't have savings. And I know that they didn't have savings because it was out in the open that now we have to call so and so and ask them for money. So
Oh
it was
shit.
very normal to see family tapping into other family for short-term loans, whenever there was some sort of financial emergency, or vice
Right.
versa. Maybe my grandparents had a financial emergency and then they'd hit up my mom. So it was just a very normal thing growing up, for people to not have savings and to just kind of rely on each other, and loan each other money.
Man, that I grew up so different from that, right? Because I
Hmm.
just saw we always had what we needed And we could
Mhm.
ask for ones. It wasn't like it was a free for all because my
Mhm.
dad definitely made us kind of work or for our money, but for little things, I was never told no. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, what a privileged life I did live. I love that I can say that. But then I have my kid at 18 and I'm like, ooh, how do I give her the same life that I had? You know, my parents were in their 30s when they had me, and there was a different way of making money back then. And I'm a woman. So my dad
Mhm.
was the head of the household. He took care of everything. What did you see growing up? Who was the breadwinner?
My mom. My mom was a breadwinner.
Oh, shit.
She's the one that always had kind of like the stable job. She worked at retail stores her whole
Mm-hmm.
life. She's worked at, I don't know if you remember
Retail.
Anchor Blue and like do you remember back
No.
in the day? No. Yeah, it was
That
first
might have
called,
been over there.
yeah, maybe it was like a West Coast thing. Yeah. So it was Miller's Outpost at first, and then it switched to Anchor Blue.
Ah.
And then yeah, right now she works at Dick's Sporting Goods. She's worked at Ross. So yeah, but a lot of retail
So
stores.
she's like retail. Okay.
Yeah, retail, and then she'd work like management or, assistant manager. So she always consistently had a job. Where my dad, he was made to be an entrepreneur. Like, now he was meant to not have a boss because he tried having bosses and he just has such a bad attitude. He cannot work with people. Yeah, so he did everything you can think of. He was a janitor, he was a cook, he worked at a car wash. So he worked at a convenience store. He had all these. So yeah, so it wasn't as
Odd
consistent. So
jobs.
yeah, odd jobs. Till finally, my mom actually is the one that gave him the idea to start his own business. And to this
Mhm.
day, he still runs his business. It's been like 20 years. It's just a one man
Wow.
operation, but
It's
he
still a
rents.
business. What does he do?
Yeah, he rents tables and chairs and party supplies, like bouncy houses.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. You know how many times I've thrown a party for the kids and I'm like, I need
Yeah.
bounce house. My friend just hit me
Yeah.
up recently and she's like, can you help me find chairs? Because people want an arm and a leg for these chairs. I can't find chairs for my son's
Yeah.
party that we're going
Yeah.
to like in 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some people are always doing parties and finding the money to pay for it because they
Yeah.
need those chairs. So congrats to your dad for being able to do that. But in the midst of all that, you were trained to deal with money in a certain way, and probably in a very frugal way. Like you had to be very frugal with your money. Is that how you deal with money now?
I definitely was not taught to be frugal, especially as I started
Really?
getting. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was just told no, and they would not give me money, but they spent money on things. And then as I got into my teenage years, I would see my mom spend more frivolously, like on shopping, kind of having like
Retail therapy.
overspending. Yeah, overspending. And I would see them fight a lot because my dad is more frugal. My dad is more frugal, and they would fight. Or I remember, and my dad always loves to bring up the past. So he mentioned how one time he showed up and there was a new piece of furniture, like basically literas,
Mhm.
bunk beds for my brothers, and I think they're pretty pricey. As a couple, you should discuss, oh, should we get new furniture for the kids? And my
Right.
dad said he just showed up from work one day and she had taken his credit card and charged the and it was expensive, and she's like, sorry, the kids
OMG.
need it. Yeah, yeah. So that's how they got divorced. They just could not get on the same page.
It's like these
But
boys can sleep on the floor.
they were like probably 12 and 8 at the time or something, my brothers. So yeah, so
Which is like you
that
can
just
see where as a mom, you're like, I want the best for them, but also
yeah.
can we afford it? And money can definitely drive that wedge between a couple. Like it could be a whole thing. But when some of the information that you have sent me over was creating accountability
Mhm.
in your own personal space with your money and your family, right? Because now you're no longer working. And I don't know about you, but a lot of people view what I do as like, you just be having fun at work and making money. So give me money. And it's just like, well, mostly my daughter. She's like, well,
Yeah.
can I have, can you not? No. This is the only, I talked about this already. People don't ask me for money. I don't have, we just did it with Paula. People don't ask me for money. My
Mhm.
daughter, she asks for everybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
enough for everybody to ask. So how do you create accountability with yourself? And what are those steps that you took to be able to create this space where you are now having enough money to do what you want to do? And when do you tell yourself no?
Well, I'm curious, going back to your daughter, do you give her an allowance?
That little girl is 18 now. Get out.
Okay.
But yes, she did.
Okay. And she's still asking
No,
for money. That's funny.
no. Oh, what? I just got a text message a little while ago. Can I get the Netflix password? Why are you still trying to use I'm sending it to her, but still, like, what are you doing? And she's so
Yeah.
much like me though. And I try to help her, but her generation is so different, right?
Yeah.
I think she's Gen Z. Yeah, she's considered Gen Z. Like,
I think she's probably Gen Alpha.
that's my son.
Okay.
So my son is Gen A. I believe she's Gen Z. She's about to be 19 this year.
Okay.
But I did a lot of budgeting with her. We did a lot of entrepreneurship with her. I was meant to be an entrepreneur, like your dad.
Like my dad.
A terrible employee. I let a manager talk to me crazy. I'd be like, "Bitch, what you say? I quit. I don't need this. My daddy got money. I'm out of here." And then, I've had all these jobs. I would leave jobs and try to do different things. Then my dad passes away, and I'm like, "Well, I can't just be like my daddy got money now because." Right. What am I supposed to do? I really had to hone in on my gifts and in my passions to create something. So he left me, how to hustle. But for you, what made you really want to study these finances? Because you read a lot of books. Like, I'm sure there's a ton of finance books that you can probably say that you read.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my passion for financial literacy really came about from my own money struggles in my 20s. My 20s were very financially chaotic. I was stuck in a lot of bad situations, like where I had a bad boss, where I burned out in the workplace and actually had to take 3 weeks off of work. I had like a nightmare Craigslist roommate that was a wild card, and I didn't know what personality I was going to, encounter when I got home from work. I had a verbally abusive boyfriend. So just all these bad situations that I couldn't escape because I didn't have money. And that was very frustrating for me because I felt that I had done everything right. I was told to go to college, check that box, get a good degree, check that box, get an office job, did that too. Right. But at the end of the day, I was still trapped and living paycheck to paycheck. So I finally hit a point, in my mid-20s where I'm like, what did I do wrong? I think I did everything right. And then that's when I realized, okay, so I'm making more money than my immigrant parents ever did, right. But I was never taught how to manage it. Because it's very different to make money.
Very different.
And another thing to manage it, and not just manage it, but to build wealth, right? To grow your money. So that's when I'm like, okay, well, the K through 12 system never taught me. I didn't even learn in college. And in college, I was an economics major. And my parents never taught me because they were immigrants in a new country just trying to get by. So I'm like, I have to learn. I have to teach myself. I can't just keep using this excuse of I don't know how money works and I'm just going to keep living paycheck to paycheck.
There is a long list of Black-led products that fit into your daily lifestyle. Show Black founders some love, not just during Black History Month, but all year long. There is power in every purchase because every time we buy Black-led brand, we make room and create demand for another Black-led brand like Natural Vert Granola, Partake Cookies, Creamalicious Ice Cream, Midwest Kids, the Lip Bar, and so many more. Black founders and the products they bring to the table are creating a whole new world of choices at Walmart. So go to walmart.com/Black and Unlimited to discover all the amazing Black-owned products you can add to your daily routine.
So I'm a book reader. So I started reading a bunch of books. I read over 50 personal finance books. I did not read the Dave Ramsey stuff. Yeah, girl.
Really? You never read any of the Dave Ramsey ones?
No, because I had heard bad things about him. So I just stayed away. There were other authors.
He's on the extreme. He's a bit of extremist. Like I said, I was 19 when it helped me. I don't think by my late 20s it probably would have helped.
Yeah, and it works for a lot of people, and I'm thankful that it does. But it also discourages a lot of people. That's just not my approach. He likes to judge people for their spending habits, and I don't know.
A little bit.
It's a little deeper than that.
He lives in the no credit, like where we. But it's kind of like sometimes we can leverage credit for certain things.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah. So I read a bunch of money books. I finally got to a place where I felt I had mastered it. And I'm like, awesome. So I started a financial plan for myself and I had all the tools I needed to now be able to finally start building savings, paying off my debt, being more aggressive with my investing. But there was definitely like a fire inside me of like, this is so like fucked up that I wasn't taught this sooner. And there's other women like me that don't have a safety net, and they have to be stuck in these situations. So like, how can I help share my knowledge with other women, specifically women of color? So I got involved with a nonprofit as a volunteer financial educator. So I did that on the side where I did my corporate job. So volunteered in my free time. I did that for almost 2 years. And I would teach like a investing 101 or an insurance 101 workshop with this nonprofit. And then eventually I started adding those same tips on TikTok just to kind of share with a larger audience.
Right.
Again, thinking it was a fun hobby, never thinking that it would turn into what it's turned into. I went viral. And then with the virality, I started getting opportunities coming in like, hey, will you come teach our students budgeting 101? Or, brands being like, hey, we want to sponsor you for a video. What's your rate? And because of the job
And
that I
you're like,
had
"Great. I don't
I'm
know."
like, yeah, I'm like, I was doing these for free because I like them. Now you're trying to pay me. And so I'm like, $300. I'm like, I'll take it. 300. I didn't
They're
know any
like,
better.
"Yes, absolutely." They
like-
jumped at it.
They're like, we'll take 2.
And you're like, "Yes." Now you're like, "Oh man," but we all have to start somewhere.
Yeah, we all start somewhere. And now I share that knowledge with other women. It's like, no, don't let them take advantage of you.
Right.
But yeah, so I couldn't take on these paid opportunities because of the type of job that I had. They had to approve any outside work, and they didn't approve it. They denied it. So I had to make a choice. It was either stop TikTok altogether and keep doing my 9 to 5, or take a bet for once in my life. I'd always taken the safe route. So take a leap of faith and see what would happen. And that's what I did. And yeah, the last 2.5 years, I've been building my brand, the First Gen Mentor, where I'm an influencer, I am a speaker, and then now the author of Cultura en Cash.
What was that plan? You said what? Can you give me like some of your
Sure.
maybe 2 of your top 2 favorite books of finances, or 3? And then what
Yeah.
did that plan look like? Because I love how we're like, yeah, we did this, but what the fuck does that look like?
Yeah. So I would say the book that really woke me up was Smart Women Finish Rich, and that one's by David Bach. And the reason that
Okay.
one moved something inside me was because all the other money books, they told you what to do, but they didn't tell you why. And his book was the first one that acknowledged, like, this is so that you can live life according to your values and what's important to you. It's not to
Okay.
be the richest person in the room or to have the biggest bank account. And that really spoke to me. So that made me really interested in learning more about money. The other one that was really helpful is like a New York Times bestseller over and over and over and over. I'm sure you've heard of it. How I Will Teach You to Be Rich. I Will Teach You How to Get Rich, or something, with Ramit Sethi. He has like a Netflix show.
I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Yes.
I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Yeah, super, super famous. And he has a huge podcast. Yeah, he's been in the game like 15 years. I think he started as a blogger and then he came out with the book. But yeah, those were some of my favorites. But there were also not a lot of options for BIPOC personal finance authors, which at times made my learning experience very lonely and alienating, because they wouldn't talk about the issues that would affect me as a Latina or as a daughter of immigrants. So I wasn't given any tools on how to navigate money with my family. And as a Latina, like, my money experience is very much tied to my family, because they are going to hit me up for loans, just like how I always saw growing up, or expect me to pay for part of their monthly expenses. And
while you're not living there.
Yeah, no, yeah, just because, I owe it to them because they raised me. So, hey, I'm having a hard time with my monthly expenses. Can you send me $100 a month? Those sort of
How do you
expectations.
feel about that? The fact that you owe your parents because they raised you.
Yeah, so I definitely talk about it in the book, where my stance is, there's one thing to give money to people out of gratitude and wanting to honor them and be thankful for what they've done for you and how they raised you, and now you're able to have the life they have because you did it on their backs. That's one thing. But it's another thing to feel that you owe it to them and to feel guilty. And I don't subscribe to that. So I say, if anybody kind of like guilt trips you into like, well, you owe me this because I did that, I say, your parents' job is to raise you. Like,
right.
Like you accept what they gave to you freely. If any parent is like, you owe me this because I did that, like, I'm sorry, that's not a healthy parent. And I can say that as somebody who's estranged from my mother, So, yeah,
and we're definitely gonna touch on that in a minute, because it does make a difference, right? How you grew up
and who that person was and those values that they instill in you. But
Yeah.
again, that plan, you read those 2 books. What is the
Yeah.
plan specifically for Gigi while you're
For
still
me.
at work?
Yeah. So the plan was definitely not to quit my job to be a TikToker. My plan was I learned through these money books that to really be able to stick to your financial plan, you had to come up with money goals, because that's what's going to anchor you when things get tough and you're being tempted to go on a random Vegas trip and spend money that you don't want to spend money on. So for me, I really reflected on what do I want? Do I want to buy a home? Do I want to move out of state? And for me, my big motivator was I really wanted to take a year off from my corporate job to travel the world while young. I wanted to just be a nomad and experience different cultures, because I never got to study abroad, and
The
I
life of
regretted it.
childish people. I don't know what that feels like. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And I'm permanently child free because I no longer have a uterus. I had a hysterectomy last year, and then my
Oh, man.
husband has vasectomy.
He snipped.
So he got snipped a couple years ago, and then
And you're choosing to not, I mean, I know that maybe you can't bear the children, but are you choosing to stay child free? Is that your
Yeah.
choice?
Yeah.
Really?
We've known for a long time that we wanted to be
That
child
you
free.
don't want to. How long have you been married?
Now almost 3 years.
Girl, we talk about money, but it's interesting. Okay, wait a minute. So you're 34. This is the age where everybody's like, where are the kids? Where are the babies? Why aren't you having? And people really truly believe that for you to be a woman, you have to procreate and have children. Where does that fall? Like,
Yeah.
do they say you're successful because you can't have kids? Like, what is it? Like, how do you feel?
Especially like as a Latina, like, and my grandma, she was a housewife her whole life. She had 5 kids. So
You're Mexican. You're supposed to have 12, you know?
Yeah, no,
That's what
100%. Yeah, no, I mean, my grandma's been bugging me since my mid 20s about like, when are you going to get married and start having kids? And I finally had to draw the line with her. And I felt bad because I kind of had to read her, but it was the truth, right? So I had to say, Grandma, for you, that was your only path, right? You had to start popping out kids at 16. She was 16 when she started popping out kids. And I said, for women now, thankfully, in this new generation, we have more options, so we don't need to get married. We don't need to have kids to survive, because now we're educated and we're able to pay our own bills. And a lot of women choose to have kids, but I'm one of the ones that don't, como que no, like you need. And I'm like, no, I don't want that additional responsibility of having to take care of a little one and being worried if something bad is going to happen. I'm already a naturally anxious person. So I'm like, I don't need that. Also, as a financial educator, knowing how expensive kids are. So yeah, so I was always of the mindset of like, I will have kids if I find the right partner. Like if I found a partner that like he was just dying to be a father and I knew he would be a good father, I would have. Who knows how that would have worked out? Because I really think that to be a good mom, you want to be a mom.
You should want to be a mom to live with someone else. Because then what if they die? Then you're like, I'm stuck with this little rugrat crumb snatcher.
Yeah, or what if they leave, or they passed away. So yeah, I definitely that's what I always say. And people don't bug now that I don't have a uterus, people really don't bug me. Well, actually people still say, oh, you can adopt or whatever, if you can get a surrogate.
Right. Because that was my first thought. I'm like, oh, have you chosen completely? Because I know that motherhood is not just through bearing children yourself.
The door is closed. Yeah, the door. I actually would be open to adopting like a 10-year-old in my 40s, but my husband isn't. But yeah, it's not something that
I don't want anybody eating my cereal.
Yeah, we're dog people, so we have dogs, and that very much fills our cup. But yeah, so when I met him, we actually met through eHarmony, and right away.
Shut up! And you met somebody online? Is he Hispanic as well?
He's half Mexican and he's half white.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he has no children at all.
No children. He was divorced when I met him. So this is his second marriage, second go around. And he knew he didn't want kids from the beginning. So when we started having
eHarmony.com. Here I come.
I think they're still around. Everybody does the apps. But I like the eHarmony because, yeah, it was definitely more like real connections as opposed to like superficial.
Okay. And you don't have, to close that out, there is nothing in you that you're like, you're good, you're fulfilled, you don't feel like you're missing anything.
Yeah, not at all. If anything, I'm relieved. Especially like, especially I see how much my friends struggle paying for daycare or when their kid gets sick and I see it's a lot. And I always think about it. I have hard days as an entrepreneur. They're long days. And I'm like, what if I had a kid right now? Then you still got to feed them and bath time. So I really respect moms. And I knew early on that wasn't for me. And I'm thankful because I think I think there's a lot of women that go into it
Yes.
thinking they have to without really analyzing, do I want to be a mom? And I think they resent their kids. They don't do a good job raising their kids, but nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about
No,
that.
and they don't. And look, I'm a mom of two. I have a almost 19-year-old and a 3-year-old. I have my first
Oh,
one at 18, completely unplanned. She's here now, right? What do?
yeah.
Then I got
Yeah.
bamboozled my second time. And bamboozled was a blessing at the end of the day, right? He is such a blessing, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. But I never heard of anyone saying, hey, I don't want to be a mom. And I'm okay with that. I don't have to be a mom. Motherhood,
Yeah.
I love my kids. And I was talking about this with Ariel recently from This Too Shall Pass, because as a mom, I love being a mom. I really do.
Yeah.
But what I
That's
don't
great.
love is this fucking daycare and the
Yeah.
feeding them. And there's so much when you're doing it alone. If I wasn't doing it alone, I look at some parents where it's still hard and you're together and you're
Yeah.
financially free and there's still emotional issues. Like I see like the Kardashians, I actually like them.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
watching them and how real they are. I know some of it is bullshit, but I see how hard they work. And regardless of how much money they have, those
They
kids
still
still
have
need
a
emotional
drama.
support. There's
Yeah.
always something going on where you feel like you want to cry and your Botox is going early because all this crying that you're doing. So I absolutely get it. Even with money, you have your challenges, but the biggest challenge to parenting or being a single mom is finances.
Yeah.
So you're able
100%.
to make that. So I want your voice to be amplified and for people to be able to hear the fact that, hey, I'm okay with not having children. I found a mate that also was on the same path. Cause I feel like people are like, oh, I'm not going to find a man that's cool with not having any kids. Or I'm not going to,
Yeah.
or a man might be like, I'm not going to find a woman that's okay because every woman wants to be a mom. And we're not monolithic. We're all so different. And we
Yeah.
can now in 2024 and in this new generation, we have degrees, we have education, we know what medication to get if we need them. ADHD, still trying to find my psychiatrist. We know what to do and we can choose to not have children, or we can choose to have a kid in our 40s if we want to, when we
Mhm.
have more financial freedom. So I think
Mhm.
that that's really dope that you have that and that you're able to
Thanks.
choose that. Now you're estranged from your mom. Is this does she have an issue with this? Yeah, but they
And
don't
she
believe
would
you.
always, and yeah,
What
I
is
know.
that? They're always like, you're getting your payback. And it's like, what?
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, why would I want to go through whatever you're complaining about? So that I think that definitely played a factor. My mom also, I saw her struggle with my brother. My brother was a tough teenager. So yeah, there's definitely a lot that I think shaped my outlook on wanting to have kids. And now
Mhm.
I know that my grandma, she has stayed in a loveless marriage with my grandpa. He's in his 90s, she's in her 80s, because she never was financially independent. And she's like, I'm stuck here. What am I supposed to do? I don't have any skills, So this man's providing for me and the kids. Yeah, he's cheating left and right, but at least I have a roof over my head. Exactly. So that's why, and
Ah.
I discovered this through therapy that maybe my therapist said, maybe this is why you're so passionate about what you do, because of how much your grandma suffered. And I love my grandma. My grandma raised me.
Same.
Because of how much she suffered, you don't want other women to feel trapped. Or I also felt trapped in my 20s, right? Not to the degree that my grandma
Mhm.
did for her
Right,
whole
right.
life. But yeah, I want women to feel that they can leave spaces that are not for them, that they're not safe in, or that they don't serve
Right.
them. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the issues that we're having because our culture is changing and we have more rights. Not where they're definitely not equal, but we have so many different outlets to do better for ourselves. And it's really pissing off a lot of men,
Yeah.
that aren't with us being as intellectual or educated as they could be. And now I'm like, you're wrong. And they're like, oh, how dare you tell me that I'm wrong? Or I'm better than you are. And it's like, well, you can't be better than me because you're a woman. And
Oh
I don't like that.
no. Oh no.
I,
I do not interact with any men like that. It's just zero tolerance. Yeah.
it's so I think somebody sent me a video and the man was saying something along the lines of everybody tells you not to date a broke man, but really what they should be telling you is to not date an emotional, unintelligent man. and an uneducated man, because that's the man that feels inferior to you constantly because they can have an intellectual conversation with you. And when they can have an intellectual conversation with you, they find other ways to find power, and whether that's physical or verbal. Now you get into physical abuse and verbal abuse because they can't hold a conversation with you. They can't intellectually meet your needs, and they feel stupid. And when you feel stupid, what do? You scream, you get loud, you hit. Just like a child, because you're emotionally unintelligent. So it's more like a broke man or a man that's working or has a job right there. That's who we're really talking about. Like, they have a job, they're able to grow if they're emotionally intelligent and if they have an education. But if they don't, they can't get out of that rut that they're in. So they might be right now not rich, but you could meet a man that has the intelligence and is smart enough to be able to grow. Without that, they'll be broke forever and abusive. Because they're dumb.
It sounds like unhealed men versus men that have potential, right? To want to do better. Maybe they didn't come from privilege.
I ain't dating no potential. You got to be. You have to have your feet.
After
you
a
got
certain
to be
age,
on both feet.
Yeah, after a certain age, it's just like, no, you have to have your shit together. I have my shit together, so you haven't put in the time. No,
that part.
Misaligned.
And it's like we can converse. Is that a word? We can have a couple conversations. I might be able to go to a drink or two
on your dime. Yeah.
On your dime. I don't care if it's your last dime, but it's going to be on your dime. We can go dinner, but you have to be working on getting more of those dimes for yourself. And maybe let's see where it goes then. But I can't just ground myself on potential. What does your husband do? Does he have a corporate job?
Yeah. So he has his 9 to 5. He's a recruiter. He's been a recruiter for a couple years now for a consulting company. So he's works from home. Yeah. It's nice.
So he got his job.
Yeah,
and he's able to provide for you as well.
Yeah, but you know what? If you know my story, you know when I met him, he was $60,000 in credit card debt. Yeah, and he eventually filed for bankruptcy. Yeah,
and wait a minute.
Yeah, I know. I'm like the gift that keeps on giving. Right? There's so many layers.
Right.
Like an onion.
Okay. So you found you a man on eHarmony. Man is broke. About to go bankrupt. Divorce. Yeah. Oh, this sounds worse. Okay. This just sounds like an episode of Netflix, okay? And then how did that progress? Because did you go for potential?
Yeah, I did go for potential because I was younger. At this age, I would not go for potential. So yeah, I was 27, I think, when I'm 26, 27. Yeah. And I wasn't financially savvy the way I am now. If I was who I am now, I would have kicked him to the curb. But I hadn't gone through my financial literacy journey. So I really didn't know much about money and stuff.
Like, but we're both broke. It's fine.
Well, kind of. I definitely knew $60,000 in credit card debt was bad, but he assured me that he's like, I'm on this debt consolidation plan, where like it'll be paid off in 5 years and all this stuff. So yeah. So
I love that you guys spoke about that though, even at that age. Is he much older?
No, he's 5 years older. I brought it up too late.
He was 31 at the time.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I brought it up too late, and I share this with my audience. I'm like, you need to start asking these money questions like on date 3. Like date 1 is a little too aggressive, but date 3 it's fair. It's fair game. Because I said I waited until like our 10th date, and by that time I was already in love, and it was hard for me to kind of pull out. So so he
literally,
shared that
figuratively. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
Just kidding. I just met you. Sorry.
That's so funny. Yeah, it was funny. I do say, since you're a potty mouth, I do say that I was stigmatized by that point, and that's why I just stuck around with him.
And it's true because we don't think about that aspect of it. Finances are huge. That's one of the biggest reasons why people get divorced and it doesn't work out, because it's like, oh, they don't know how to spend money. My last relationship, my goodness, like if the Lord don't come and intervene Himself, even today, he gonna die broke. Like beyond broke and so much debt. And I didn't realize that because there was so much money coming in, right? So you're like, oh, there's a lot of money coming in, but the management of that money, like you could have $500,000 coming in a year and still be dead broke and in debt.
Maybe spend it all. Yeah.
You're living above your means. You don't know how to manage it. So that is happening. If you don't have, I didn't have those conversations early. I had them at very surface level. Yeah. And it's like, let's really get to the nitty gritty and have those hard conversations, which is what I've been kind of doing now that I'm in the dating pool. It's like, I'm asking uncomfortable conversations, and it makes people that aren't at the same level uncomfortable. They don't want to answer them, and they're like,
that means they're not for you. Yeah. Yep.
You're not for me at all. But I do have some letters that I want us to answer.
Okay.
So we're going to go into, if you have a question, go to askcarlawilmares@gmail.com, or you can shoot me a DM to ask
Wait,
them.
and Carla, I'm sorry. Before we
Talk
get
to me.
into the letters real
Yeah.
quick, I just did want to acknowledge that my husband has completely transformed his finances. I wouldn't
She said,
have
wait a
married-
minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Make it
Let me clear the name of my man. We ain't moving on because my man's got it together now. Please break it down.
It took a while. It took a long time for us to get on the same page. We almost got divorced at one point because he just couldn't get it. Yeah. So I actually didn't marry him until his bankruptcy was done because I'm like, I don't want that shit on my record. So once he was done,
shout out to you for standing on that.
100%. No, 100%. And then later what we found out that even though I had taught him everything I knew about money at this point, and I was an expert at money, he still wasn't able to execute because he had financial trauma. So we found that out through therapy, that as a little kid, his parents would constantly fight about money. So he had this negative association with money. So like money meant like people were angry, shouting, stressed. So he avoided money, and that's why he mismanaged it. So thank God for therapy. Thank God he was open and going. And since then, he's completely transformed his money situation, because I would not be in this relationship if he was still that person.
I love that. But you know what? Sometimes you met him young, 27, I think it's still very young in our life. And you were able to be patient. That's when people go like, oh, we had our ups and downs and things have happened. But
I held him down for a long time. I did. I had to pay the deposit.
You're doing better, but I held it down.
No, I mean, I had to pay the moving deposits. And whenever we would move apartments, they want 2 months of first month and last month rent. He never had savings for that. So I had to pay for that. Or we had to use my credit too. My credit, because he didn't have credit. When his car got repossessed, we would drive my car.
Oh, GG. You went through, but you know what?
But look,
you're doing good now.
Now that I'm now we're doing great. And now that now that I'm an entrepreneur, and even though my business is doing well, you have to reinvest in the business, right? So I have a lot of
there's days that are like, hey, here's 100,000, and there's a month that you're like, oh, nothing came in, it all went out.
So when I took the leap, I sat down with him. I said, hey, I've been holding you down for years. Now it's your turn. I'm going to try this entrepreneurship thing. You're going to pay for my health insurance. You're going to pay for food, and you're going to pay for more in rent. And he's been doing all those things. I recently took back the health insurance because now I feel more financially secure. But he pays like 2/3 of our rent.
Nice.
And then and he pays for all our food. So like I said.
And I love that you're even saying this, because we live in this culture where social media is like, oh, the man got to pay for everything, and he got to pay my bills, and and I'm just going to sit here like a pretty princess, make my money and keep it in my pocket. And it's like, that's not necessarily a partnership.
Yeah.
It's not a partnership.
Every person has their own, and as long as the other partner agrees and they're being smart with the money that they're saving and not just spending it on Gucci bags and shoes and all this stuff, right? Like if you're building a nest egg for yourself and investing and building savings and all that, good for you, girl. Like I wish I could find that, honestly, a guy that was like, the money you earn for you. I take care of everything else. I'd be like, great. I would love that.
Sounds amazing. Where are they? eHarmony?
Where are these not on eHarmony. Not on eHarmony. Yeah.
eHarmony, you'll find the man you love, but you're going to have to give it a couple years before everything gets better. And I'm 10 years past when you met yours. I ain't got no more time. I think I heard Jason Lee say this. I have more birthdays behind me than I have ahead of me.
Yeah.
I'm about to be 37. So if I make it, I don't know if I'll make it to 80. Shout out to your grandma still being around, and your grandpa. But my dad died at 60. His dad at 66.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody's like in their 60s, pretty young. And I'm like, I need to know, I need to work out and take care of myself. But I give myself to like 65, 70, right?
Yeah,
and that's still kind of young. But I don't know. I feel like I definitely already had more birthdays than I have birthdays ahead of me. But I'm really happy for you to say all of this, because nobody ever says this, because they feel like, oh, I'm so rich, I'm an entrepreneur, oh, she must be like killing it. And it's like, we're still building. We're still building. I was talking to my therapist yesterday, and I was telling her it's crazy because we're in this middle class, right? Or it could be an upper middle class, and I'm making this money, but now when you're here, I feel like I'm poorer than I was when I was working a job, and getting that $80,000-$90,000 a year, because my taxes now are ridiculous. The money that I make, I have to reinvest. Health insurance, I just had to get health insurance for the first time. Medicaid found my income. So my kid and myself, had to get insurance, $1,000 a month. Every
My
time he
goodness.
goes into therapy is $50 for each session. That's twice a week. Like it's
Yeah.
so much money for health
Yeah.
insurance, to have good health insurance for myself and my son. So
Mhm.
how am I supposed, yes, all this money is coming in, but it's also going out just as fast. Like I
Yeah.
got a message from my account. It's like, yo, you really owe like 80 grand in taxes. And I was like, well, X out my email. And it's just rough. So really saying that we are so rich, we're not, right? We're trying to get there. Even Taraji P. Henson recently, when she was talking about
Yeah.
being essentially, broke and now getting paid enough, but she's making millions. It happens. You have to reinvest in yourself, and taxes. There's so many, and that's politics. I'm not well versed in politics, but I do know that I'm in between. I'm in between where, like, financially, I want to go with the Republicans, but then when it comes to people and just loving ourselves, it's like, then there's Democrats, and then where's the in between? Like,
Yeah.
we don't have an in between. We have to go to two different extremes. But
Yeah.
to close that out, her husband is husbanding. He's doing his thing, and he's helping, and you got there. And I think also that shows us that we have to be patient with someone that we love. Not patient, not stupid, right? And it's like, you
Exactly.
have a plan, and you have to know what is enough, when enough is enough, because you're going to go through trials and tribulations, and there's money goes up and down. Money comes and goes. But you got you a good man,
Thank
Savannah.
you.
He's a good
No,
man,
thank-
Savannah.
No, thank you. Yeah, a big deal breaker for us was like, if you're gonna file for bankruptcy, no more debt. The second that I see you accruing debt, I'm out. And yeah, he's been debt free this whole time. So yeah, you
I
really
love that for the
people
both of you.
have to want to change, and he knew that. He's like, I can't keep living like this. So
And you guys are
I
gonna
just
have
wanted to
kids,
share
so
that.
you're gonna be so rich. Ooh, you're gonna be so rich. Ooh, you're gonna be so rich. Shout out to you, because my kids take all my coins.
Yeah. Well, I do have a niece that I love, and I have my best friends are all starting to have kids. So I'm like a tia to all of them, and they get their little.
Being the rich tia is the best thing.
Yeah.
It's the
fun.
best thing to do. Before my son, my nephew's like rich tia, and it's like,
Yeah.
I can do all the fun stuff and then drop you off.
Yeah.
Now, nope, mine has to come
You're
over.
stuck with him.
That's stuck. Sometimes he's 3 right now, so I'm going through it a little bit, and I'm like,
Yeah.
there's no return to sender. Like, adoption. But we do have a question or a letter from someone, and it does have to do with financial stuff. So I'll ask you which one you want. There's one about taking care of family, and the other one is friends borrowing money. Which one do you want to hear?
Let's talk about family, because that's a big focus of the book.
Okay, cool. Let's do that. So she says, is it she? I don't know. We'll find out. I really want to stop taking care of my family. So here it is. Boom. Here it is. Boom. I grew up very, very poor. Although I was able to find a well-paying job after graduation, my parents still live in poverty, mainly due to poor life decisions. But I feel like I can't even enjoy my own paychecks because they always need something. It's always bills or food, or my siblings need something. More than 50% of each check goes to my family, and I can't even treat myself to nice things. I have friends who make less than I do, and they can go on trips, buy nice things, because they have self-sufficient family members who don't depend on them for every little thing. I like to get my hair done professionally because it's been years since I've been able to do so. And my mother and sister are waltzing around with fresh hairdos on my... Okay. It's ridiculous. And I want to... Literally, she just said they got fresh hairdos on her dime.
Yeah.
I would fight. It's ridiculous, and I want to cut them off, but they just make me feel so guilty or tell me I'm being selfish when I complain. I even go out of my way to find them employment opportunities, and there's always an excuse as to why they can't do it. Overall, I'm just really fed up, and I wish I had the guts to leave them alone, to handle their own business and let them figure it out. Where do I go to next? I'm at my wit's end.
So there's a very fine line between being a good daughter and being a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you get to decide which category you fall into. I'm not going to judge you and decide for you. But to me, the part about like they have their hairdos or whatever, their manis, or
I'm stuck on the hairdo, baby, because right now my hair like looking crazy.
Because that's expensive.
I wish I was if I was looking like this all the time right now, and y'all had fresh hairdos.
Yeah.
I'm ripping it off.
So there's this creator, I'll give credit to her. Her handle is Clarissa Explains Money, and she came up with a phrase that I love. She says, "Don't give your budgeted dollars to people who refuse to budget." Because that was my frustration too, right? That I was finally getting my ducks in a row with money, making the moves, the sacrifices that I had to do to make money right for me and to build financial abundance. But then, yeah, I had family members. Well, I need this, I need that. But then they're not on a budget. They're just spending like crazy, you know? So I
Right.
felt that I had to give them money to be a good daughter and a good granddaughter because that's what I owed them because they raised
Right.
me. But then I got to a point where I actually tried to help them. And I'm like, hey, like, I understand that your spending's out of whack because you don't know how a budget works. Let me try to like help
Right.
you set one up. And I did.
They
I
don't want
sat
the
down
help.
with them. No, that it didn't. They didn't want to because they you know. I mean, it's hard to teach an old dog tricks, right? So at that point,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, no, like this isn't for us. So then I said, okay, well, like here I am putting myself on a budget, keeping track of the numbers. But like, if you're not willing to do the work, how can I help you, right? So
Right.
I had to start pulling back. And there's an approach I teach in the book. It's called the quiero y puedo approach to decide
Quiero
when
y
to
puedo.
decide when to give family or when to set the financial boundary and say, no, I cannot support you with this right now. So the first step is quiero. So do I want to help, right? Are you doing this because you want to, you're thankful to your family, you want to show gratitude and love, or are you doing it because your arm's being twisted and you're being guilted into it? And I
Right.
say, if it's the latter, if you're being kind of forced and backed into a wall to give us money because we raised you, you can give them money, but guess what?
Right.
Eventually that's going to lead to resentment because I did that for a long time.
A lot of
So
resentment.
and you start resenting the people that you love most, which how does that work, right? So now
Right.
I that's how I determine whether to give money to family. Do I actually want to give them money for the situation? And if that passes that check, then I'm think, okay, well, can I? Puedo, right? Can I actually give
Mm-hmm.
this money? So that means, do I have savings of my own that I'm not going to like dip into to help with this? Or do I have my, investing, long-term investing also going on autopilot? But yeah, if I'm in a bunch of debt and family's hitting me up for a loan, it's like, who's going to help me when I need help if you're broke? And
Right.
that's what happened to me for a long time. My 20s, I would help family. And then when I had these nightmare roommates, toxic bosses, and all these places that I couldn't escape, nobody bailed me out because everybody else is broke, right? Because they didn't want to budget. They didn't want to learn how money worked.
And they've
So
never given you money.
yeah, no, they've never given me money. So that's why I had to learn, you know what? I need to focus on me. I need to do me for a little bit, focus on my money situation, get myself on a solid financial foundation. Once I'm there, then I can think about supporting family. And I know that's hard, especially if it sounds like her parents live in poverty. I know that's easier said than done. Fortunately for me, that's not my experience. My family, they're definitely not rich, but they're not in poverty. So it is harder when you see your family
But it just
struggling.
seems like they don't want to because she says, hey, I've tried to find them employment opportunities. Like, go get a job, bro. Get a
Yeah.
job. People, the
Yeah.
entitlement kills me.
Yeah.
Like, you think you're entitled to my hard-earned money. No. And
Yeah.
shout out to whatever to God for whatever he did to make people not ask me for money. Because I would be like, even my daughter recently, she hit me up and she said I shouldn't be telling her business, but whatever. So her account was overdrafted. She needed $75. Da, 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 da. I said, okay. I struggled for a little bit because I was like, choke you. But also, I got you. I want to give it to you, but I'm not just going to give it to you. I was like, hey, well, I have some laundry that needs to get done.
Yeah.
And I can use a break
Perfect.
from the baby. Come
Mhm.
through. She never responded. And I was like, boxing match on again. But
Yeah.
then later on, a couple of days later, she still needed some money. And I was like I said, I'm
Good
about
for
to go
you.
out. Do you want to come
Yeah.
over and stay here with the baby and I'll give you the money? And she did that. She came over, she helped, she
Good.
cleaned up after him. And then I don't mind. And I gave her more than what it would have cost for somebody to come for a couple hours. But it
Yeah.
doesn't, to me, it's like, at least you have to do something to get
Yes.
something. I'm not just going to be giving you money. You got to earn it one way or another.
Yeah, well, that's great. I'm so glad that you have that relationship with your daughter, but sometimes it is harder for the children of immigrants to be able to say no to their parents or to extended family members because you very much get labeled as like ungrateful or the
Oh, I
black
am.
sheep. Yeah, you're the black
I'm
sheep
the
or
blackest sheep of them all.
No, me too. Yeah,
Because it's like,
yeah.
I'm not respectful. You don't
You're the
respect your
cycle breaker.
elders.
Yeah, the cycle breakers usually are.
And it's hard. It's really tough.
Yeah.
But my therapist told me yesterday that my daughter had said to her, I want to be just like my mom. And I was like, she lied to you. She hates me. And she's like, no, she doesn't. Like, she sees it. And I get it that, you know, sometimes with our parents, we're just like, oh, they're being hard. She's a teenager, right? It's like those freaking raging hormones and they think they know it all. But at the end of the day, it's like, what are we doing to protect them? And I'm okay with not having a relationship with my family because just because we're blood doesn't mean that you're allowed to traumatize me even more or abuse me even more.
Yeah.
Like, abuse me, use me. Like, you're literally abusing me. You're telling me just take it because we're blood.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't want to. I don't want to.
Yeah.
And it's
I
like,
very
what's your
much have
excuse
my
for not being
chosen
there?
family. Do you have chosen family?
Yeah, I do. I very much do. And sometimes it does feel a lot like whenever I do things, there's finances included. Like, a lot of my help I have to pay for, you know, and then but I rather that than be in a place where I'm not really respected or truly loved. It's just I'm being used. And I feel like they have to do something. If your family wants this money from you to get the hair done, then maybe, hey, I got some laundry you could do. I have X and Y and Z that you can help me with so I can then help you. And if they say no to helping you, you know, if you're already going to give them the money, have them help you with something and take something off your load.
Yeah.
That to me would be the easiest way. Instead of just giving you money or telling you go get a job, it's like, okay, well, you can come over and clean my house.
Or finding ways for them to cut expenses. Like, I have an aunt, I'm not kidding you. She's been paying for the storage space for 25 years. She has no idea what's in the storage space. And it's like $150 a month. Yeah. And I said, Patty, this is ridiculous. Like, whatever is in there, you clearly don't need because you haven't opened it in 25 years. And she's like, well,
have you gone in there to check?
I wanted to, but I live too far away. But I honestly want to go and like remove everything and be like, this is going in the trash. You can keep this. And we don't need the storage anymore.
You don't need to keep any of it. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
But there might be something in there that like, you should go.
I don't know.
You might find some vintage something that costs like, you know, 200,000. You might find something in there. You never know.
There's a show about that. Yeah.
Yes. I feel like you should
storage
make that
wars.
little trip.
Yes,
go to the storage. Go to the storage and go see what's in there and then make her clear it out. But keep whatever's really expensive. That'd be like, you're welcome. I want the spoon. Little does she know the spoon's like this gold spoon. Who knows?
So the last thing I would like to say to the person, the listener, was just, you know, it is not selfish to put yourself first. I know that as Latinas, we are told we have to put our family first and we have to light ourselves on fire to keep other people warm. But like, you as a human matter too. And sometimes that means saying no to family now so you can get yourself into that solid financial foundation. And then maybe later, if you still want to support, you can, but you do it knowing that you have the financial means to do it and that you're not doing it while you're living paycheck to paycheck.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
100%.
So you have to fill your own cup in order to be able to help them. And what you said is so right. You're not saying just flat out no, you're saying not right now.
Not right now.
I can't do this right now. And when you get to a position where you're like, hey, today I want to take you guys on a vacation, or today I want to take you out to dinner, or hey, it might be in a year or two, we're like, girl, how much your hair costs? Because I'm going to pay for it. You know?
Yeah.
You could do things like that once you get yourself there. But if you're constantly trying to catch up because you're taking care of someone else, that's never going to get you anywhere.
You're going to be running in place.
Rat race.
Yeah. Yeah.
That rat race. Well, every episode I close it out with a Bible verse because I always tell everyone, you come for the mess, stay for the message. You know, I'll be a little unhinged sometimes at the moment. I am unmedicated and unhinged, but it's fine. We're going to figure it out. We finish off with the Bible verse, and today I have two, and they do have to do with money. The first is 1 Timothy 6:10, and it says, for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Some people are eager for money, have wandered from faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. And we always hear like, money is the root of all evil. And it's really the love of money. People forget that part. The love of money is the root of all evil. You get really eager to get all this money. And our goal right now, and as we're talking through this conversation, is not to be rich. It's to be rich in so many other ways outside of money. And
to obviously, have options.
In the world that we live in, we need money. You know, so just understand that one, for me, God is number one, and we have to keep him there and listen and quiet the noise around us to be able to get more. And then the other one that I wanted to bring up was Proverbs 13:11. And it says, dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. And we also touched on this. Sometimes we get so overzealous and wanting to get money. And you could work at a bank, or my background is pawn shops with my family, and it's a business where you can really steal very easily, right? Or you can be very dishonest in ways that you
They
get
need to
money.
make a movie about your life.
Think about it all the time. This life is like the hectic. It's wild, the things that I go through on a regular basis, but it's fine. I'm like, God, you have a funny sense of humor. But being in the pawn shop business, I remember, people would steal from my dad, but I also learned from him. Even in the business that I am now, it's very easy for the people that work with me. I never say for me because they're my team. They can go and do their own thing. It's like whatever they learned from me, they can go and do that. And a lot of times I encourage them to do things on the side. Like, get that. But when you make money in a dishonest way, it's happened with a few people that I know, nothing will ever work out right. Like, it's going to go away. And you might be at the top for some time. You might be at the top for some time, and you might be making all that money. You might be sitting next to some of the biggest entertainers or business folks, and that all dwindles away. But when you work little by little, and I always tell these people, like, how did you get to where you are? And I'm like, it wasn't overnight. I have been working really hard in what I'm doing. And it's like a new client here, and someone's talking to me here. Right before this call that we're doing this recording, I had a call with a very, very well-known entertainer and social media influencer. And she's like, everyone I talk to, they know you. And they're like, you want to start this is who you have to talk to. Like, where'd you come from? And I'm like, I don't know. Because I'm not on TV. I'm not on publications. Like, I don't have a publicist.
It's your reputation. You really made
so
yourself
important.
as a go-to person.
So important to do that and do it slowly. It might not get you there right away. I see some people in my same lane that have gotten way further and really high, and then you start to see them dwindle slowly. And I'd rather go up slowly and continue that trajectory. And that's why Proverbs 13:11 just resonates with me so much. I even just posted a reel today because we're working on a project with Will Packer and iHeart. And I was telling the COO recently, I'm like, how did you find me? And he's like, this other girl, Jasmine. I'm like, I just don't even know how this happened. And it's such a large project that my team and I were chosen for. Like, they had the option of so many different production companies to go to. And for them to land here, it's like, where was that? And I'm like, that God, honestly.
Yeah.
And the patience that I've had, the work in there. Because sometimes people are like, well, God will make it work. And it's like, maybe if you don't work, God ain't gonna work either. He's not just a one-man show. You can't be at home listening to a podcast thinking someone's gonna knock on the door. You have to put in the work too, and you're gonna have trials and tribulations. But again, go little by little, it'll grow. At any moment that you try to do money in a dishonest way, it's gonna leave. Money comes and go regardless. So I wanted to bring those two Bible verses to you guys. And Gigi, I want you to tell everyone, where to get the book. Do you have a second book coming, or is it?
No, not for now.
Not for now.
I need a break.
You're like, I just launched this one, girl. Shut up. I'm trying to do my whole. I'm on your podcast. I'm trying to promote it.
No. They have asked me already. The book is doing very well. It has 81 5-star reviews on Amazon, and it's only been out 2 weeks.
I love that for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, and I don't know if they told you, it was endorsed by Eva Longoria, so her blurb is on the cover. Yeah, I'll read it right here. It says,
"Are you serious?
Cultura and Cash empowers you to improve your relationship with money in an authentic and relatable way. A much-needed resource for our comunidad. Bravo, Gigi." And it's Eva Longoria.
I love that's for you. Did you meet her?
No, but she sent me a DM video. I have not met her. Have you met her?
No.
Yeah. Well, I know you're like with entertainers and stuff.
Oh, yeah. No. I've never met her. And I know she does have something with the iHeart. I think it's called Mi Cultura.
Oh, yeah.
That's
right.
Of iHeart.
That's right.
She has something there. But I have never met her. She's one of those we grew up watching her. Yeah. And then Desperate Housewives was
Desperate
like
Housewives,
the
Gabrielle
show.
Solis. Yeah.
She was definitely that girl. But no, seriously, congratulations. I'm going to make sure we put the link to your book on here for anyone that wants to purchase it. Did you do the audiobook for it?
Not yet. It'll be out in September. I'm doing voice lessons right now because apparently it's a skill to narrate a book. You can't just like read it and sound robotic. So I'm doing voice lessons. I
didn't realize that was a thing. When I did radio and I would do my ads, they're like, wow, you're so good. And I'm like, everybody can't do this? And they're like,
you're
no,
natural.
It's a skill to give. Like even the opening of this, I'm reading something. I'm going off script, but I'm reading it and people are like, I didn't know you were reading it. I'm like, I
That's a
was,
skill.
but it's definitely a gift and a skill that I didn't realize that it was so important, especially for reading books.
Yeah. No,
So
so again, the book is called Cultura and Cash. It's out on all
yes.
major retailers, so Amazon, Barnes and Noble, bookshop.org. I please encourage you to support your local bookstore, instead of
Yes.
supporting these big giants like Amazon or Barnes and Noble. And you can also get access to it for free by requesting it from your local library.
Oh, yes. So right now I'm listening to a book called Change. I don't want any more self-help or podcast or
I'm
business.
the same
So
way.
it's like a completely fiction book that I'm listening to, but I
Mhm.
use an app called Libby or Hoopla.
Okay. Okay.
And there, if you have
Oh
your library
yeah.
card, then
You
you
have
put your library
audiobooks for
card into that
free.
app free
Uh-huh.
and Kindle.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you can get it
yeah.
in audio or reading. And if you have a Kindle, you can also get it on there. So Hoopla and Libby, you can get books for free. So if your book is part of the library,
Yeah.
they can definitely listen to it on there as well. Does that help you in any way if they get it? Like, how does that work for the library?
No, for me, I mean, I didn't write this book to make money from people reading the book. The money is
Mm-hmm.
going to come from the speaking. So now that I'm a thought leader, I'm seen as a thought leader in this
Mm-hmm.
space. Organizations are going to pay the fee for this thought leadership to
Love
come out of
that.
my mouth. But for the everyday reader, no, I want you guys to buy it and then loan it to your prima. Yeah, request it from your library. They'll keep it in stock, and then that way your whole community has access to it.
I love
But
that.
yeah, that's what it's about. It's about sharing knowledge
You're
with
going to be the Latina
knowledge.
Dave Ramsey.
No, no, not him.
Wait, okay. I meant it as in like the big name in finance.
Yeah,
He's just known
yeah,
for that. So yes,
yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
no. Pause.
Yeah, no, he just has such a terrible reputation. But no, I'm really proud of the
Yeah.
book, and it's a resource that I desperately needed in my 20s, and it's getting a lot of good traction. So I hope everybody gets to check it out.
I love that for you. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. And remember, if you're looking to launch your own podcast, I have the self-paced course still, idea to launch podcast.com. You get $100 off if you use the code pivot. And if you want to do a consultation, if you're just trying to figure out how to start a podcast, do that call. It's 20 minutes, $20. I only do it because y'all be trying to get on my schedule. I'm busy. And if you pay attention to what you pay for, so it's not much, but I know that if you pay, even if it's that $20, you will show up and I'll give you my time. And I'll let you know if we can even work together or should work together. I won't just take your money. You might be like, have this great idea. And I can tell you, hey, I'm not the girl for you, or keep a day job. Don't do it. Thank you so much for you guys listening. And Gigi, thank you again for being here. I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.